Of Meir Kahane, Egyptian-born Sayyid Nosair was bleeding on the Lexington Avenue sidewalk, shot by a postal service guard he encountered after jumping from a cab. Nosair's attorney argued Nosair did not kill the radical rabbi as he spoke to a group of supporters at the Marriott Hotel. Rather, he was framed. A gun dropped near him after he was shot on Lexington Avenue. William Kunstler, Nosair's attorney, suggested Kahane was in fact killed by disgruntled followers in an argument over money. Nosair was acquitted on the murder charges despite the fact several people attending the Kahane speech said they saw him run from the room with a gun in his hand, despite the fact a cab driver outside the hotel claimed Nosair hijacked his cab and put a gun to his head. No one, however, claimed seeing Nosair pull the trigger. Nosair did not testify, but while bleeding and being treated at Bellevue Hospital that night, he claimed a man with a yarmulke did the shooting and that he ran from the hotel because he was the only Arab in the place. Nosair smiled broadly tonight when the verdict came down. Pandemonium erupting in the courtroom. As Kahane followers screamed death to Nosair, Nosair followers erupted in cheers.
This story was a trick from some group of Jews tried to get rid of Kahane, which he announced it before, years ago. Meir Kahane, he announced it years ago that if he will be killed by one of his own group.
This verdict comes as a big surprise to many observers of this trial. Nosair was convicted of criminal possession of a weapon and 2 counts of second-degree assault. Murder would have sent him away for 25 years to life. He now faces 2 1/3 to 7 years in jail.
Killing extremist Rabbi Meir Kahane has been found not guilty.
Lining the entire courtroom, trying to prevent violence. They did prevent violence. There was no actual violence, but there was an emotional outburst when the not guilty verdicts were read. There was crying and screaming, and one Jewish supporter shouted, "A license to kill."
Both outside and inside the courtroom, the reaction was emotional and explosive when the not guilty verdicts were read in the murder trial of Sayyid Nosair. Jewish supporters of the slain Rabbi Meir Kahane were outraged, and Arab supporters of Nosair were beside themselves with joy. The 36-year-old Nosair, a Muslim American citizen, was found not guilty on 3 counts of murder in connection with the assassination of Rabbi Meir Kahane. The crime took place on November 5th, 1990, at the Marriott East Side Hotel in Manhattan. The verdicts came after 4 full days of sometimes contentious deliberations. The jury did find Nosair guilty of assault and possession of weapon charges.
I think it's a marvelous thing. I think the jury came to a reasoned conclusion. And I think that it's a big victory. We still have to fight the appeal on the other counts.
I say thank God, because as a Muslim I have to thank God for any result. But I still not satisfied about these charges. Our brother is absolutely innocent.
Defense attorneys say someone else shot Kahane, and the verdicts backed up their contention. But Jewish supporters of the slain rabbi who founded the Jewish Defense League say there was no justice in the courtroom.
What happened tonight is a travesty of justice. It is a message that is sent out to the community that you can assassinate Jewish leaders and get away with it.
The only justice for Nosair is Jewish justice, which is death. And for the rest of his life, he's going to have to look behind his back because he is going to be not amongst the living.
Amen.
And Kahane Chai, Kahane does live. Death to Nosair! Death to Nosair!
Well, the defense team claims someone from within the Jewish Defense League may have killed the rabbi himself, and that factor, along with the reasonable doubt factors, apparently led to the not guilty verdicts. Reporting live from State Supreme Court in Lower Manhattan, this is Jeff Weiser, Fox 5 News. Let's go back to the...
Rabbi Meir Kahane. On the 4th day of deliberations, the jury found Sayyid Nosair not guilty of killing the rabbi. During the emotional trial, there had been almost daily demonstrations outside the courthouse, and tonight was no exception. Pandemonium broke out inside the courtroom as the verdict was announced. Dozens of Nosair supporters shouted in praise of Allah, while a Kahane supporter began screaming death to Nosair. Rabbi Kahane was known for his hard-line stand against Arabs. He was the founder of the Jewish Defense League and a former member of the Israeli parliament. Tonight, supporters of Nosair reacted to the verdict.
Yeah, absolutely. We are not going to be satisfied till we prove that our brother Sayyid Nosair was framed up, he was innocent 100%, And this story was a trick from some group of Jews tried to get rid of Kahane.
However, tonight, Nosair was convicted of criminal possession of a weapon. During the trial, several witnesses testified they saw him running from a hotel with a gun moments after Kahane was shot.
Saturday.
Good evening, I'm Reggie Harris.
And I'm Dana Tyler. We begin tonight with a verdict in a case that continues to ignite passions among Jews and Arabs. It's the case of the Egyptian immigrant accused of killing militant Rabbi Meir Kahane. As Channel 2's Lisa Castleman reports, the jury found the immigrant man not guilty on the most serious charges.
Minutes after the verdict, the emotions that erupted in the courtroom spilled out of the courthouse. The supporters of Sayyid Nosair were jubilant.
And we thank God for that, because everybody in the beginning thought is Mr. Nosair, he's a murderer. But thank God for that, and he's innocent 100%.
I think it's a marvelous thing. I think the jury came to a reasoned conclusion, and I think that it's a big, big proof.
And followers of the murdered Rabbi Meir Kahane were livid, saying the system had not delivered justice.
There wasn't one Jew on that jury. There were blacks and white Christians, and you could rest assured that there was a Muslim on that jury.
This is a travesty of justice tonight here in the city of New York. This is a message to be sent out to the public that you can get away with the assassination of Jewish leaders.
36-year-old Sayyid Nosair was charged with the November 1990 murder of militant Rabbi Meir Kahane, who was gunned down while speaking at a Manhattan hotel. Nosair was also charged with shooting an elderly man who tried to grab him inside the hotel, and with shooting a postal officer who eventually shot him a half a block away from the hotel. It was tense in the courtroom as the verdict was read. He was found not guilty of second-degree murder, not guilty of attempted murder in the first degree for the shooting of the postal officer, and not guilty of attempted murder in the second degree for the shooting of the elderly man. Nosair was found guilty on the lesser charges, criminal possession of a weapon, 2 counts of second-degree assault, and coercion for commandeering a cab while fleeing the scene of a crime. Kahane followers shouted death to Nosair as the guards shouted, "Get out of here." So the emotions were carried outdoors, along with the defense attorney, William Kunstler. And while Kunstler, too, was overjoyed, he said the conviction of weapons possession made for a repugnant verdict.
Can't be found guilty of the other counts if he's acquitted on the main counts.
Next in the case will be Nosair's sentencing, set for January 29th. Even though he was only convicted of the 4 lesser charges, he could face up to 36 years behind bars. At State Supreme Court, Lisa Castleman, Channel 2 News.
Acquitted of the killing. Eric Schoen reports.
We have assembled here today to seek justice for Kahane.
He stood in the same room at the same spot where his movement's namesake was assassinated and promised more protest. It was November of last year when extremist Rabbi Meir Kahane spoke at this podium, and moments later lay mortally wounded on the carpet, a victim of an assassin's bullets. Sayyid Nosair, the Egyptian-born Muslim who was accused of his killing, was found not guilty of the murder Saturday, but was convicted of shooting a Kahane audience member and a postal officer who wounded him as he escaped.
I was in shock, but not amazement. We predicted Jews in this nation do not often get justice in criminal courts.
It was a verdict that deeply angered Kahane supporters, and they are now demanding Nosair's extradition to Israel.
A special team of attorneys are on their way here from Israel to investigate the options for an extradition of Nosair to Israel to face charges for crimes against Rabbi Meir Kahane and crimes against the Jewish people.
That is just abject, emotional buffoonery. I don't think there is a legal basis whatsoever that would support Mr. Nosair being extradited to Israel. First of all,
Nosair's attorney, Michael Warren, is not worried about his client being sent to Israel, but about the possibility the judge may hit Nosair with a maximum sentence of 24 years.
I hope he does not allow this group of people to intimidate and coerce him into sentencing this man to the maximum sentence, because he has had no prior contact with this system, criminal justice system. He has a family, he's an American citizen. He should be entitled to the same benefit as any other person who goes through this system.
The voices condemning the not guilty verdict have also been joined by U.S. Senator Alphonse D'Amato and City Council President Andrew Stein. They're both demanding the federal government investigate if Nosair violated Kahane's civil rights to determine if there are grounds for a conviction that the jury did not consider. In Manhattan, I'm Eric Shawn, Fox 5 News.
So now with the latest.
Still more death threats today against the man some say got away with murder. Egyptian-born Sayyid Nosair found not guilty on Saturday for the gunning down of outspoken Jewish leader Rabbi Meir Kahane after a speech at the Marriott Eastside Hotel. Nosair, who was himself shot after Kahane's assassination that night, is being held at Rikers Island awaiting sentencing on lesser charges in connection with the shooting. Kahane's supporters now say they have a list of Nosair's relatives along with their addresses. Many of his relatives are said to be in hiding. At a press conference today, Kahane's supporters also called for Nosair's extradition to Israel to face murder charges.
A special team of attorneys are on their way here from Israel to investigate the options for an extradition of Nosair to Israel to face charges for crimes against Rabbi Meir Kahane and crimes against the Jewish people.
Nosair's attorney, Michael Warren, today said there is no legal basis for the extradition to Israel, but he takes seriously the continuing death threats.
These people have had a history of making these type of threats, and what's even more significant is they make them with impunity. You haven't heard Mayor Dinkins, you haven't heard Commissioner Brown, you haven't heard the FBI say anything about the threats that have been made, not only against the family, but against the jurors, against myself, against my co-counsels over the past several days.
Sayyid Nosair still awaits sentencing next month on gun possession and other charges. He now faces up to 21 years in jail. In Manhattan, I'm Glenn Thompson, Channel 11 News at 10.
That the accused killer, Sayyid Nosair, has been acquitted of murder charges, protesting today on the Brooklyn Bridge. A sparse crowd saying the murder wasn't conspiracy, while they marched to demonstrate what they call injustice toward all Jews.
Had Rabbi Kahane not been a Jew, this case would not have been mishandled the way it was. There was a cover-up from the very beginning. The police did not conduct a proper investigation, neither did the DA, and neither did the federal authorities. We're here to demand justice.
Kahane's followers want to extradite Nosair to Israel and put him on trial there.
Supporters of slain Rabbi Meir Kahane walked in the rain across the Brooklyn Bridge under a heavy police escort. Once underway, their chant shifted to justice for Kahane. The demonstrators say the police and the prosecutor did a poor job in the case. Last week, Nosair was found not guilty of killing the rabbi.
To lower Manhattan to vent their rage that the man accused of the murder, Sayyid Nosair, was acquitted. They are demanding justice, both here and in Israel. They want the federal government to file new charges and extradite Nosair to Israel to face prosecution. And there are threats of handling the matter outside the law.
I believe and I hope that in the near future, Nosair will no longer be among the living.
Call in the FBI and investigate the possibility of bringing federal charges against Nosair for the violation of the civil rights of Rabbi Kahane.
But officials at the State Department and the Israeli embassy say any filing of new charges is unlikely.